Hello, I'm Alex from WhatCulture.com, and I'm stood here on a freezing cold day outside the O2 Academy, where the VFX Festival 2016 is taking place right now. We're going to go inside and talk to ILM about their work on Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I cannot wait. Okay, before we start, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at ILM?
Sure, my name's Scott Pritchard and I'm a compositing sequence supervisor at ILM London.
With The Force Awakens, there was a big publicity focus with this film about how it's returning to practical effects, how we're going back to that original approach to sort of visual effects. How did that influence your approach to doing sort of the computer-generated side of things?
Well, it made our job a lot easier in a way because we could actually ground it in what was actually shot. So, for instance, for Maz, we had a maquette, physical puppet built, which we put in every shot. So that acted as a reference for our digital Maz to kind of match to. So in many ways, our work was extending or enhancing what was already in camera.
There were a few all digital shots in the movie. What did you do to make sure that those seamlessly fit in, that those didn't jar with, you know, sort of the interactive shots?
Well, I mean, a lot of the all digital shots are like things like the Falcon chase through the Star Destroyers in Jakku, where, you know, we'd already done a lot of photography out in Abu Dhabi. So a lot of what we do at ILM is that we take as much reference photography on set as possible. So we always have something to base our work off.
Okay, so it is all grounded in reality, even when it's all digital.
Absolutely, yeah.
One thing I really want to talk about is one of my favourite parts of the movie, and that's BB-8. You know, great character. At what point did you decide this very complex mechanism was going to be done practically? Was that always the plan, or was that something that developed over time?
I think it was always the plan to actually enhance them in areas where we needed to digitally. So Neil Scanlon, who ran the Creature Shop, they built, I believe, 4 different versions of BB-8 to do different things. So there was one which had 2 kind of rods which came out the back, which a puppeteer could like operate the body and the head. There was one which was remote controlled and had 2 little stabilizer wheels at the back. There was another one which just kind of wiggled around on the spot. And then for particular performance, where we wanted to enhance the performance, we then would replace either the head or the entire BB-8 with the digital version. Looking at the mechanics of inside BB-8, it was like this incredible Swiss watch. The work that went into that was just unbelievable.
With Maz, moving on to Maz Kanata now, with that, was she always intended to be all CGI? Because you talked about having models on set. Did you ever consider going a practical route with her?
The idea was never going to be driven by the technology. It was always going to be driven by the design and what we needed to do to capture her performance. And I think originally they talked about having her as an animatronic puppet. They also thought about having her played as somebody wearing a suit. But I think there was a point where the performance, the nuance of the performance just demanded a digital version. You know, there was a lot of her design was influenced by her backstory as well. You know, she's an adventurer, she's a pirate, so if you look at the kind of details that are in her clothes, you know, we've got 7 different types of fabric just in her boots. You know, there's all these little details that kind of tell a little backstory all its own.
Well, the other big CGI character in the film is Snoke, who's a very different sort of character. How was he? What were the influences for him, and how did he change over the production?
Well, Snoke was originally, like Maz, Snoke was originally conceived as a small maquette, and that was finished off in the middle of production. And then he was refined and refined throughout the post-production. You know, JJ wanted him to be very monumental. You know, he had the Lincoln Memorial in mind, and we used a lot of references of things like jellyfish to give him a kind of almost like a semi-transparent look. We actually built a full skeletal structure inside his head and veins as well that you can see through. It was that kind of keeping him slightly mysterious, and it was always the intention actually of JJ to keep him, it would only reveal himself to be a hologram at the end of his first scene. It's very much shrouded in mystery still, but all those scars and all that damage has to come from somewhere, but we'll find out.
Does ILM know?
Someone in ILM knows.
Okay. So you said that these designs were finalised sort of mid-production. Did Andy and Lupita know what they were going to look like when they were doing those performances? They've seen some stuff, but did they know exactly what the finished movie would be like?
Well, I mean, we had that model of Snoke for
Yes.
Andy to refer to, and get an idea of what his character was going to look like. That was the physical model that we were able to take out to his place in the Imaginarium. Lupita, we actually had a digital Maz available for her, where we were actually able to put a little digital Maz inside a scene which had been shot a couple of months earlier in principal photography, and she was able to do the performance capture and see that reflected in Maz in real time. It was something we developed for Mark Ruffalo on Avengers Age of Ultron. He had something that we called the Monster Mirror, where he would sit in his trailer and he didn't need to wear any tracking dots or anything like that, and he'd just sit and there'd be a laptop with Hulk looking back at him, and his face would be tracked onto Hulk, so he could just rehearse and kind of practice how changing his face would result and look on Hulk. So we refined that slightly for Maz and put her into the scene so Lupita could get the context of how she was performing against the other characters.
Thanks very much. That was great to learn a lot more about the development of the film.
You're very welcome.
Cool. So there you have it, the secrets of Star Wars The Force Awakens revealed. Be sure to like, share and subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Bye.